from KCRW, this is Here Be Monsters.
It's just so wholesome. There's no attacking, there's no aggression. It's like a Disney movie in there. They all work together, they all pull together as a team, and it's one macroorganism that lives for 15 years, where each individual component changes over regularly. Every single one of them is female. There are no males in this colony. They are only useful for about 2 weeks in the springtime. That's their entire purpose in life. And to be frank, I kind of like the fact that the males are mostly useless. Every leafcutter ant colony has a lifespan of about 15 years. That's a long time for an insect. Especially for the queen, she lives 15 and lays 1 egg every 3 seconds the whole time. It's just like cells in our own body. We regenerate, we heal, every part of us is replaced over time, but we stay who we are. The colony stays who it is throughout all that changeover. And the only thing that doesn't change, the only constant, is the queen. From her, all things flow to and from.
Here Be Monsters, the podcast about...
Your fingernail is not intelligent.
The podcast about...
the unknown.
You can see up in that top tunnel how busy they are, running back and forth.
Forager. Feed the fungus. Feed the queen. Fungus food this way. 500 paces. 50,000 paces. Follow the scent. Always moving. Forward only. Cut a leaf. 5,000 paces. Deposit the leaf. It is for the gardeners then. Always moving. Forward only. Gardener. Retrieve the leaf. Grind the leaf. Chew it into fungus food. Layer the substrate. Feed the fungus. Feed the queen. Tend the fungus. Give it water. Not too dry. Harvest the nectar. Feed the colony. Feed the queen. Harvest the nectar. Feed the hatchlings. Harvest the nectar. Feed the gardeners. Harvest the nectar. Feed the soldiers. Harvest the nectar. Feed the queen. Feed the colony. Feed the queen.
Soldier.
Protect the queen. Follow her scent. Check for danger. If danger, then attack. Disassemble. Scatter. Protect the queen. Protect the queen. Protect the queen.
If this, do that.
5,000 paces. 5,000 paces. 5,000 paces. 5,000 paces. 5,000 paces. 5,000 paces. 5,000 paces.
Can you tell me where we are?
We are currently sitting right next to the 2 ant colonies here at the Victoria Bug Zoo. We've got a whole wall of glass boxes, and each one is about a foot by a foot by about 3 or 4 inches. Each one is set aside by the ants themselves to either be a fungus garden or a dump site or all kinds of other fun places like that.
Can you describe to me the symbiotic relationship between leafcutter ants and the fungus?
It's not really a symbiotic relationship. It's a domestication. Similar as we domesticated farm animals and other comestibles like wheat and corn, they domesticated this fungus 25 million years ago. It has been bred and engineered by these ants to the point where it cannot survive on its own because they know exactly what the humidity it needs is, what the temperatures it needs is, its food requirements, its nutrition requirements. They keep it in check, they look after it, and it in turn produces the syrup for it. It's not symbiosis, it's domestication. They are incredibly industrious creatures. You can see everywhere here there's all kinds of little pockets of fungus, and now that fungus is a gorgeous gray, and it produces a shining crystalline liquid that is mostly sugar syrup. They farm the syrup from their fungus that they domesticated 25 million years ago. No one individual or group of individuals is in charge. Everything is done through basically if-then programming using pheromones. If there's food somewhere, one of the scouts or foragers will wander out, leaving a trail behind them that says, looking for food. If they find food, they'll follow that trail back, which is their way to find home, leaving another trail that says food this way. And then all of their sisters will start following that trail and keep leaving the same pheromone trail back and forth and back and forth. Everything in the colony is done the same way. Everyone doesn't think. If attacker, then release defense pheromone. If cannot defend, protect queen. If queen is undefendable, retreat. Take her as low down in the colony as possible to keep her as safe as possible. It's binary. It's computer language. They just use pheromones instead of ones and zeros. Each one is not in charge, not even the queen. The queen is as much of a servant as the colony, as any other individual. She is basically the heart. She's irreplaceable. Without her, the colony's over. Without the colony, she's out of luck. So the lifespan of a queen in this species usually starts by pheromone markings on her egg from her mother, which determine that she will be a fertile female. She'll also have some brothers, and those are the drones. They are the fertile males. Now, in the springtime, when the right temperature, pollen, and pheromone cues reach the colony, the queen will release those drones and princesses, and they get out there, and it is literally spring break. At the end of those 2 weeks, the drones, the males, die. That's their entire purpose over and done. Now the princess will fly, or queen, depending on how you view it, will then fly as far away from home as possible, land, dig into the ground, tear off her wings and eat them, and for the first few months, she will eat 9 out of every 10 eggs she lays. It's omelets for breakfast every day. Until the first few generations of minims, the caregivers, have gathered enough substrate, the chewed up leaf matter, to start the fungus gardens. And the queen will then bring a seed that she took from her mother's colony out of her special cheek pocket, kind of like a purse. And that little ball of gray stuff takes off. And she'll continue to eat her eggs for a little while longer because it's not producing enough nectar for everyone. But once things start going, the first few generations have made that substrate, the fungus is growing, everyone starts getting fed, then the next generation happens because they can be fed more, and then the gardeners happen. And the more gardeners that happen, the bigger the gardens get, the more she gets fed, the more her babies get fed, the bigger they get, the more casts appear. The foragers are next size up. They're the ones who go outside into the world, find those leaves, cut them, and bring them home. They go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. You can tell how far along a colony is by what size is the biggest ant they've produced. You know they're full swing and they have a good chance of surviving when they've got all the way up to soldiers and are producing soldiers. Now, this is the part that really fascinates me. The queen finally passes on of old age. The hatchlings that are born while she's still around will treat her as if she's still alive. They'll try to feed her, clean her, they'll carry her around and look after her. It's only the ones that hatch after the queen has passed that know it's closing time. And you can see in the top two boxes here that this colony is dying. The queen fell asleep for a month and a bit, which is incredibly rare. She wasn't laying eggs at all. Rare. Normally they'll take maybe a week or two off every year or so, which is why I wasn't entirely worried. But when it got to a month, then it's like, okay, is she really gone? But no, she perked right back up. We gave her some brand new flowers, the roses. Mothers love roses. And so she should perk up and be useful for about another year or so. And then she'll start winding down just like the old queen, the past queen, did. And then we'll see everything shut down again. And everything gets tidied up, scooped up. Everyone shuts everything down. The graveyard fills up, the waste bins fill up, and everything else goes away. In their last day or so of life, all the ants, except for the queen, quit their job and come out to the graveyard to bury their older sisters, knowing that they too will be interred properly when their time comes.
Do you think there's a difference between intelligence and consciousness?
There is a great distinction between intelligence and consciousness. Individually, they are, lack of a better term, stupid. I have seen them do some incredibly dumb things. I've seen them walk around in circles for 2, sometimes 3 days because the scent trail has gotten mixed, and they are following their own scent trail. I could set up using marbles and sticks an exact system that replicates using gravity every single thing they do. But the complexity comes in the fact that they all do it. Every single one of them has if-then responses gene-coded into them. But you get 1.5 million anythings doing if-then programming, you've got a computer. This is an organic computer. There is no one intelligence in here. It's all a herd. It's one giant living macroorganism. It doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have a heart. It still thinks, and it still pumps. They're not intelligent. They're clever. They're cunning. Both of which are not signs of intelligence. It's the same way your fingernail is not intelligent, but you yourself are. Your fingers do their thing. You think they do. It's the same as the colony, except no one driving force. It's communism that works. They are a commune. Every last one of them all puts 100% of their effort towards the betterment of everyone else around them, not themselves. These girls don't have ego, which is what gets in the way for humans, is we can and are very selfish. Every one of us is. Every single one of these lovely ladies aren't. They will give every last breath for the colony. To the point where, if one of the foragers gets sick when she's out, one of her if-thans says, "You have a defect, remove yourself from the colony," she will walk away from the colony 180 degrees until she drops dead. If she gets back home before she realizes she's sick, one of her sisters will figure it out, pick her up, and they will both together walk away from the colony until they both drop dead, without any thought, without any hesitation, to protect everyone else. Can you imagine humans doing that? But that's that interesting dichotomy of my job, is trying to get people to empathize with these animals without humanizing them too much. They are not like us.
Mother is dead. Two meat creatures talk and point. Sever the joints. Follow the scent. Follow it to the graveyard. Bury the dead. Carry now. Dead mother's head. Dead mother's thorax. Feed the queen. Protect the queen. Bury the dead.
All right, tell me what we're looking at.
This is the old queen's severed head. We are only seeing just the head, which is about 7 or 8 millimeters across, with mandibles 3-4 millimeters long. It's completely been hollowed out, and they are trying to clean it, feed it, look after it already, even though it's completely separate from the body. Some of them are crawling inside the back of the skull cavity, or equivalent thereof, looking for her, I guess. But they are doing their absolute best to tend to the severed head of their own mother.
This is the first you're seeing. You actually, when we were talking, you thought that she was still alive.
Everyone here thought she was still alive. That's why I think this is more than likely her head, but it could not be.
Does the queen also get buried in the graveyard?
In parts. They will shift her piece by piece to the graveyard. The ones who realize it's game over and don't have those pheromones from the queen anymore, they'll shift those parts to the graveyard.
Might that be what's happening now?
Absolutely.
Why would her head be detached?
It falls off. They are very, very spindly joints, and when an ant dies, especially if it dies in the colony, they disassemble it. It's a lot easier to move the components, especially when they are that big, to the graveyard by taking them apart. But they still are some of them are trying to feed the mandibles, and there's others crawling in and out of the back of the head. I reiterate, these are not intelligent creatures. They are clever, not smart.
Does it make you sad to see her head?
Yes, I'm sad she's gone, but she led 15 years of life with no predators whatsoever, fed regularly, her children looked after by someone else. She led La Dolce Vita. That's one hell of a life. Admittedly, one egg every 3 seconds does sound like a bit of a pain, but again, it's what they're meant to do.
What's your role with this colony now?
Observer. Bring them food still. They'll farm it. But at the end of the day, it's them that looks out for them. We provide a place for them to live, but they're the ones who live their lives. As it is.
Is that in the back there? It looks like some sort of shell. Is that also part of her body? Do you see what I'm saying? Or
Yes. That would be, that's her back. And that thorax top casing is what we're seeing being transported there. Bit by bit.
5,000 paces, 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 5,000 paces. Retrace every step, retrace every step, retrace every step. Retrace every step.
Ash Bessant is a tour guide and bug wrangler at the Victoria Bug Zoo. He's worked there for 3 years now, tending to leafcutter ants and roughly 50 other species of insects and arachnids. Ash told me he actually used to be arachnophobic, but now he just wants people to hold tarantulas and maybe learn to love them like he did. If you ever have the chance to visit the Victoria Bug Zoo in Victoria, British Columbia, you really should. You might even have Ash as your tour guide. In fact, this Sunday, May 13th, 2018, in honor of Mother's Day, all moms can go to the Bug Zoo for free. Speaking of Mother's Day, a very special Happy Mother's Day to Tammy and Kathy. You know who you are. This episode was produced by me, Bethany Denton. I had editing help from Jeff Emtman. Nick White is our editor, and Kristen Lepore is our manager at KCRW. Music by The Black Spot and Sarah Cell. We also still have a few meat posters available that can be hand-delivered by Jeff if you live in the Boston area. You can find the details on our site at hbmpodcast.com/store. Here Be Monsters is part of the Independent Producer Project from KCRW. If you like what we do, and if you want to support it, a great way to do that is to become a KCRW member. Right now is their annual pledge drive, so head over to join.kcrw.com to make a contribution. Thanks for listening. More episodes soon.